Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here. Cirrus over there.
Nope, I'm not here. That's a lie.
Cirrus, oh fuck. Oh, I didn't put the cooldown on those things. God damn it.
Haha! Get ruined by your own things. God, guys, he's growing so fast. He's learning all of these lessons we learned through fire.
I am also learning them through fire. Yeah, no, so I was editing the last stream we did where this hats thing was happening, and yeah, as I was editing it into, oh god damn it, I don't even have my water beside me. Fucking JASA proxy.
You don't even get to hydrate. You only get to dihydrate. Okay. That's a you problem.
Okay. There, another hat. Can you grab my water bottle while you're up?
I can't. I am in America.
I was talking to my partner.
I can't. I am in America.
Okay. You know what? I think this, what is that? Another hydrate? Oh, god damn it.
You just get to drown.
No, because you guys can't be trusted with the buttons. You guys get to watch me on stream struggle with figuring out where the fuck these settings even are.
Jesus Christ.
Let's see. Content?
Don't worry, he is doing his best. Probably.
Settings? Stream settings? Nope. Viewer rewards, channel points, manage challenges. Okay, where's the cooldown? Stop it! Okay. Well, nothing says I can't just switch between the two hats. So. Oh wait, no. Okay, here we go.
Rhino gets to be a piss tuber.
Hats off to you. Edit. Where's the cooldown? Cooldown. 5 minutes. Redemptions per user per stream. I don't know. Given what Jasa's been up to, I'm thinking 1.
It will be safer for you if you do that.
I'm doing 3 because I'm a nice guy. Okay, that's the hats off to you. Hydrate. Let's.
You fool.
Cool down that.
You don't give them mercy. You don't give them leeway because they won't give it to you. All right, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. I don't have to stop you from touching the stove. I just have to let you know that it's hot after you've touched it. You'll have learned the lesson. I just have to explain the concept. That's all.
I mean, to be fair, I am starting to get sick, so the hydrates are probably actually helpful.
They're helpful until you drown.
Until I drown, yes. But as I was saying, I was editing the last stream where we were doing this, and because like I take out our off-topic random discussions and put them in their own video, so that like the actual, discussions that are of a topic will stay on point.
Yeah.
Because of that, there were several instances where like just in the middle of a normal video, I'm suddenly wearing a towel on my head for like a few seconds, and there's no reason for it that anyone can see in that video. And my standalone videos are getting more views than they used to because I'm actually like remembering to do them and stuff.
Remembering to upload them.
Yeah, I have videos scheduled till the 23rd of January right now.
I have videos scheduled only until this Friday, but that's because I do 2 a day.
Yeah. Well, I do one a day, and then I skip the days that we stream. And I skip Fridays because that's when videos release on my main channel, and I don't like releasing 2 videos in the same day.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess just because mine is all live stream commentary content, and I don't know if the topic that I'm covering is going to be one that everybody wants to listen to. There's a morning video and an evening video.
Yeah. Yeah, that works. Oh, thank you, Eddie127, for resubscribing for 3 months. All right. Also, Zyceus subscribed during the countdown, I think. Cute Dark Art says, I am not small.
Yeah, you are. You're tiny. Shut up.
I've never met Cute Dark Arts, so I couldn't tell you.
Neither have I, but the meme has never died on my channel, okay. So it never will.
Okay, sounds good to me. So yeah, that's there was something I wanted to talk about at the beginning of the stream. Oh yeah. Okay. Bragwen just subscribed. Thank you, Bragwen. Yes, no. So this doesn't really this didn't really warrant its own article, but the Pope came out against what's it called, surrogacy. So it's like one week he's like, it wasn't. Now, the way we talked about it when it happened, I feel like we said that they were blessing gay marriages. It's not that they're blessing gay marriages; it's that it's okay to bless gay people who are in married relationships. They don't just like withhold the normal blessing from them. So it's not
the most cheeky way to get around it. Like, God turns a blind eye when you do it this way first.
AI wifey just redeemed hats off to you. I don't have an AI wifey. Do I have another hat? Yeah, I'll just go back to this one. Oh, Fennec the Rabbit just resubscribed for 2 months. Thank you, Fennec. So a few weeks ago, he said, I suppose we won't withhold heaven from gay people just for being gay. We're still not going to bless their union, but we can bless the people in the union. Has it been 10 minutes already? That was a quick cooldown. And now he has come out and been like, oh, we condemn surrogacy. It's like, if you got pregnant with IVF, that's bad. If you got pregnant by having a surrogate, that's bad. Which someone in the chat pointed out that, like, given how their Lord and Savior was born, I feel like that's not a tenable position for them.
I'm going to be honest. Matt Walsh and every other person on that side of the conservative aisle made me tired of the surrogacy argument before the Catholic Church got involved.
Yeah. I could see that.
Just because every one of them is like, no, I don't want gay people to have the ability to do the children thing. Like, oh, okay, so you're just a monster.
So I feel like this was like the Pope noticed that he was getting all sorts of press for being progressive again. He's like, oh shit, got to do something to get rid of that.
You got to make the homophobes feel safe. It's very important.
Yeah. But anyway, that was just the quick thing that I wanted to mention. I didn't feel needed an article. As to the articles, though, this is something that doesn't matter to anybody except for me, I think. But I found a website. But it's a website / app that when I heard what it was, thank you, Razor Stormer, for cheering for 100 bits. So when I first found out about this, it was just like advertised as like, oh, you can send stuff to yourself across devices without like texting it to yourself. You just save it to it's called Pocket. You just save it to your Pocket, and then you can pick it up on another device, and you can save anything like links, pictures, whatever. Doesn't matter. So I'm like, oh, that'll be helpful for finding new stuff on Twit tweets. If I find something on my phone, I don't need to like text it to myself anymore. I just save it to the app, and then it'll be on my computer. But then it turned out that they have this thing where like, if you pay them, it's £35 because they're British per year. You can like store the websites offline and on their servers and with no ads, and they format them themselves. So like all of my news items are formatted the same, and the headlines are lined up with the text instead of with ads.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's amazing, and I love it. And like, there are some of the bigger news outlets that have security features or whatever that block this, like the Washington Post. It doesn't work entirely properly with that. You still get the Washington Post layout, which is kind of dumb, but like, this is how I'm doing it from now on. Oh, hi dog. My dog grabbed my hand. So anyway, PornHub blocks North Carolina and Montana as porn regulation spreads. So now we'll see. I think I saved a tweet of this. I might not have. I don't remember. But there, one of the apologists. Oh, he's the guy. Sean McDowell. Sean McDowell.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think I saved Inspiring Philosophy's tweet. If not, we can talk about that. But Sean McDowell tweeted this out, being like, North Carolina and Montana block PornHub. Like, it's actually the other way around. PornHub is blocking them because they are putting out regulation that is going to be harmful. PornHub has restricted access in 2 more states in protest of continued nationwide state-level efforts to regulate online access to porn. So people that go to PornHub, RedTube, or Brazzers, the site's owned by ALO, are now greeted by a video of performer Sherry DeVille, who reads out a handful of paragraphs at you, telling them like why it's blocked, and they end with a call to like call your representatives, and like it's call your representatives and tell them that you support identifying people by their device rather than having them submit their ID to us. But like, everybody knows that like when you call your rep for that, they're gonna be like, hey, I need you to do a thing so I can watch porn again.
So the funny thing about this is those states will still have adult video shops that will still have all of the same type of material available for anybody, but they're just like, no, we don't want it accessible via the one thing that everybody uses ubiquitously. No. Like, oh, okay.
So here's the thing, though. I understand where this is coming from, because there does need to be like an age gate on porn sites, and especially like PornHub gets into hot water all the time. Like it mentions in this article that they recently had to pay a fine for like knowingly hosting videos that featured the victims of sex trafficking. And it's like, yeah, PornHub is problematic. But it's safer than a lot of other places where you can go for porn. And yeah, but also like the main issue I have with this is not so much the age gating. It's so in Montana, there's an ID verification law, and in North Carolina they actually snuck this in with a bill regarding high school computer curriculums. So like, you know you're doing something wrong if you have to sneak it in on an unrelated bill.
Unfortunately, though, that's how that type of pork fatting is what most bills in the United States are in general. Like, this is one of the reasons why I think it's France, I want to say, actually has laws to restrict pork fatting on bills. But it's very, very difficult to, with the way the United States is ran, it's very, very difficult to stop pork fatting on bills here.
Yeah, like the bill that would be proposed to stop it would come with a bunch of riders that are unrelated to it.
Yeah, it's like, well, we can give you PornHub back. We can do that, but we have to be able to teach the Bible in school.
Yeah. Also, another problem with this is that the states are leaving enforcement as a civil matter rather than a criminal matter. So like, this isn't if they violate the thing, then the government comes in and is like, you need to pay a fine now. It's relying on people. So this would ultimately end up being like parents who catch their kids watching porn would then sue them for damages or whatever. But the problem that I have with this is, like, again, it's not the age gating itself, is that there are a bunch of states. I don't think North Carolina is one of them, but there's a few others that the way that they're handling this is actually like, have one of your state issued IDs and upload that to the porn site to prove that you're of age.
Yeah.
I feel like a porn website should not be something that you trust with your ID. Like, I feel like that's just making people more vulnerable to data breaches.
Yeah, so if I'm being honest, so I grew up as a kid discovering porn on the internet. Like, there's just a thing that happened. Sorry
to interrupt. Drake Konix says just get a VPN. So just surfshark.deals/rhino.
Hey, there you go.
Just saying.
But so, from my perspective, I grew up, and the websites that I was, and any porn website that you could go to always had like a pop-up that said, "Are you over 18?" And of course, you would lie, and you would get into it. But I feel like that's the only thing you can do, because if you ask for standalone ID on every one of the websites, you are putting more volatile information of yourself on the internet for access. Also, people can flub that shit too. Like, ask an AI program to generate you a fake ID. Like, you're going to be able to flub it if you really need to. So it's not going to protect anybody from anything. It's not going to do anything.
Also, a VPN is like $3 a month. And like, I suggest Surfshark because they're the ones that pay me to suggest them, but like, they're all the same. Just get a VPN.
You could also
don't tell my rep at Surfshark that I say they're all the same when I'm not being actively paid.
There's also just, if you happen to be using certain browsers, there are browsers that have built-in VPN features.
Like Opera?
Yeah, like Opera. They're not paying me either.
Firefox has one, I think.
I haven't used Firefox in years, so I'm not aware.
Firefox is one of those things where it's like, I would like to see more websites designed to work properly in Firefox, because then we could get away from Chromium, because Google owning everything is not good. But yeah, because Opera is Chromium based, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most browsers nowadays are Chromium based.
Yeah.
But
so Pornhub says that it and other sites are not opposed to age gating content, but they prefer the use of device identifiers for age verification rather than methods required by these new laws. I don't even know what that means. Like, how would you confirm someone's age by a device? Like, is that just the pop-up that says, "Are you over 18? Yes, no?"
I would assume it would have to do with so if let's say you're on a phone, right? Most people nowadays are viewing porn and other things not on their computers but on their phones.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I want the big screen.
It's mostly a convenience thing.
I know.
For the majority of people, and me. But I would assume that they're talking about the fact that if you're using something like a phone, there are parental controls you can set on those that can limit what the person has access to. And even if somebody uses a phone...
In other words, maybe make it the responsibility of the parents to make sure their kids aren't accessing porn?
That would be one way of doing that, yes.
Yeah, like... Because, like, I'm not worried about the fact that there are porn sites that it's easy to access if you're not 18 with my kids. My kids have parental controls on all their shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so from my perspective, when it comes to porn access, the most you can or should do is default to whatever parental controls are allowable on certain devices, or have a pop-up asking people to verify. That means that the onus... Every single time when you do that, the onus is on the person that lied or their legal guardian.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you, just from a business perspective, you have done the part that is important in that interaction. If somebody lies, you can't control for people lying, and trying to control for it is awkwardly, stupidly Christian.
Yeah. So Naramda puts is saying, why are we interested in preventing kids from accessing porn anyway? It's one of those things where, like, a discussion needs to be had in order to make sure that, like, they understand what's going on, and, like, the fact that it's not, like, you shouldn't be learning what to do and what not to do from porn.
Oh. Yeah, you don't use porn as a how-to guide for sex, because they are actors putting on a show, and often sex is less sexy than how it's portrayed in porn. But there is something that I can say. I do think that it's important to have sexual education available to kids, not on a fucking porn site, obviously, but I do think having that available to kids earlier can give them the context they need, so that when they inevitably stumble on porn, and it is stupid to pretend that they will not inevitably stumble upon it, but when they inevitably stumble upon porn, that they have the knowledge and maturity already going in to go, oh, okay, so what they're doing is acting, and that's not how this is going to be in a few years when I'm old enough to do it.
Yeah, so I'm kind of the opinion that, like, I'm not going to make it accessible to them, but I'm also, like, I'm not going to be naive enough to think that they're not going to find it at some point. So I just want to make sure that they have the tools in their toolkit to mentally deal with that.
Yeah.
When they do stumble upon it. Rather than just being the dad that, well, I mean, an argument could be made that it would be better to be the dad that is like, okay, here's a list of porn sites that you can go to. Because then I can at least vet that and make sure that they're safe and they're not taking advantage of people. They're not, like, sex traffic victims or whatever. So an argument could be made for that.
It could. I would understand that argument being made there, because then you're trying to make sure that you're, for lack of a better word, your kid is being a responsible consumer. Yeah. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I just think it would be a silly,
really weird conversation to have.
It would be a very strange conversation to have. Like I remember when I was a kid, my dad, because I didn't know how to delete internet history yet. And so when I was at my dad's house, there was a personal computer in the room because I liked playing RuneScape on it. But I would, of course, look up porn on it as well. And this is in the early days of Google, where I had no idea that I could put anything into the search bar and get anything else out. So I was putting in all kinds of crazy stuff, almost all of it related to, like, anime that I was watching at the time. Probably a lot of it was Pokemon, come to think of it. And as I would do that, because I didn't know how to delete the history, and I didn't know how to go to safe websites, eventually a bunch of those, like, pop-ups and shit would come on that made it to where the computer was borderline unusable. And there was a conversation we were having over dinner during one of the summers I was spending the time at his house. And I forget exactly what he said, but it was something to the effect of, I don't care how much porn you put on that computer, I will make sure that it is clean later because that is my computer. And I didn't know how to defend myself there, so I just went, what's porn? That was the best I could come up with. Was what's porn, Dad?
Yeah.
That is not the way that you want to go about defending yourself in that situation.
Oh yeah.
And that's it.
So here we go. Despite the company's safety claims, ALO was recently fined $1.8 million by the federal government for allegedly willfully hosting videos of sex trafficking victims. This is where we get into porn is an ethical gray area where, like, in concept, there's nothing wrong with it. But in execution, there often is. And so, like, even with the problems that PornHub has, it's a lot better of a site than a lot of the other ones that are out there on the darker parts of the web.
Yeah, it exists, and that's about the worst sin that it has. I do remember there was a point, I want to say 2 years ago, where like a ton of the porn on Pornhub got deleted, if memory serves, because they couldn't actually figure out if consent had been given for a lot of the shoots, or in some cases they couldn't figure out if, even if consent was given for the shoots, they didn't know if consent was given for those shoots to be posted publicly on Pornhub. And even like certain prolific porn actresses had their content removed from Pornhub because they had never given permission for their stuff to go on Pornhub at all. That was stuff that was supposed to be, you know, back on paid sites and stuff like that.
It'd be people freebooting it. Yeah. Like someone would download it from a paid site, upload it to Pornhub. Fennec the Rabbit says, also please consume ethically, pay for your porn, and support the actors. That's generally good. So OnlyFans is a good way to make sure you're ethically consuming porn. But even then, I think we discussed this last week when I talked about that video of the, like, why YouTubers hold their microphones and like how companies are getting good at making themselves look like they're just some guy with a camera working on his own. The same thing is happening on the OnlyFans page. They know how to make something look internet.
They know how to make something look internet ugly.
Yeah. So there are porn companies that are making organic looking OnlyFans content, and it can be hard to parse out, but OnlyFans is probably a better bet than Pornhub for making sure that everybody is safe and consenting.
Yeah, if your goal is just to make sure that money for that content goes where it's supposed to go, as opposed to into some like advertiser's pocket, it is better. It is also important to note that it is impossible to 100% consume anything ethically under our current system, but you can make efforts to do better, and it's okay to make efforts to do better.
Someone gets another hat. Yeah, no, someone just did the hat thing.
You got hatted.
I got hatted.
Oh, darn.
I don't think I'm wearing it correctly. So Louisiana, Utah, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Virginia have all passed similar laws, which caused Pornhub to block them as well, most of them. Texas has passed its own ID law that's under appeal. It would require adult film sites to show unsubstantiated warnings about the health risks of watching porn. So you get like that Surgeon General's warning that you have on cigarettes, but for porn, and not true.
I am okay with that if the information's accurate, because
it's Texas. It's not accurate.
Understandable. It won't be Texas, but there is a conversation to be had about how the fact that the brain has neuroplasticity does mean that the way you consume porn can lead to actual long-term problems with how your body responds to gratification and things like that. Like it can cause
and that
issues.
Would be okay, but it's just going to be the Christian propaganda, like porn destroys marriages sort of things.
Porn only destroys the marriages that are too weak for the porn. I'm saying that halfway as a joke, but also because if you and your partner cannot communicate about the fact that you want to watch some adult material when you're feeling a type of way, but you don't want to go to your partner and in some cases feel like you might be inconveniencing them, it's okay to have that conversation to be like, hey, Sometimes I touch myself at night.
Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, so this where it points out giant swaths of people worldwide. Oh yeah, the EU has just determined that Pornhub is a very large online platform, so it has to make sure it knows how old its users are, and so they need to figure out how to do that in a way that will be compliant with the EU rules. Which I'm not opposed to that, as long as they're not requiring you to upload your actual government issued ID to them. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't trust a porn site with my personal information.
Yeah,
Like even like when paying for, like, if you're paying somewhere where like it's like a site that has its own payment processing thing, if they have a PayPal option, use that, because rather than giving them your credit card information, because when you use PayPal, well, when you use PayPal, they don't actually get your credit card information like that. I remember when OnePlus came out with their first phone, there was a huge scandal because a lot of the people that bought their phone had put in their credit card information directly to the OnePlus website, and they got hacked, and a bunch of credit card information got stolen. But all the people who bought their phone using the PayPal checkout were safe, because all they got was like the PayPal user ID and nothing else. And so, yeah, if you're like that's how far I would go with it. Like, I don't want porn sites having any of my information. So Pornhub, they're not Pornhub, PayPal, that's the way to go.
I'm in the same boat there. If I have to have it go somewhere, PayPal's away.
Yeah.
God, the amount of people who fall for things like Cash App scams just randomly popped in my head because of that.
Yeah. Sakura says, I worked for a porn site. I literally had access to every customer's credit card information. Yeah, I feel like a lot of those companies store that stuff in plain text.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just there for them to utilize.
Yeah, that's it for that one. Yeah, off with the hat. Done with the hat for now. Next up. Oh yeah, so that... I should probably start saying where I'm getting these from. So this was from The Verge. This comes to us from sidebarsblog.com, which Randall Eliason was a former state prosecutor. He's a law professor at University of Washington, I believe it was. So like it's just some guy's blog, but it's some guy who has legal expertise.
Oh, okay, so he's not talking out of his ass, but it is certainly a blog.
Yeah, so this is not a vetted news source. So if he has an agenda, he can be twisting things in his way. But like, he's a lawyer, he's got experience, he's a professor at a law school. Oh, Jessa. Okay, doggy ears, I guess this time. There we go.
You're gonna have like a rack of hats.
Yeah.
That's only goal is to make it to where you can do this more comfortably.
Yeah. Oh, there's the hydrate. Oh. People are going to take me so seriously in the edited video. DC Circuit skeptical of Trump's immunity claims. So this morning, that was yesterday morning actually, 3-judge panel of the District of Columbia Circuit heard oral arguments on Trump's claim of presidential immunity. The trial judge, Tanya Chutkan, denied Trump's motion to dismiss based on immunity and double jeopardy, and the DC Circuit has put the appeal on a fast track. They're expected to affirm. It's just a little bit of information about the judges. So an amicus brief was filed by the group American Oversight, and they made a strong argument that the court does not have jurisdiction to hear the appeal at this stage because presidential immunity is not explicitly guaranteed in the Constitution. This probably has something to do with which circuit of appeals it went to, or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of technical crap. I don't know what circuit is for what thing. I'm just going to have to assume that, yeah, it is a question that maybe they don't have jurisdiction here. And so the prosecution agreed that Trump has a right to appeal.
Okay.
So both Trump and the prosecution agree that he has the right to appeal as to whether or not they have jurisdiction. Or no, not as to whether or not they have jurisdiction, as to whether or not Judge Chutkan was right to dismiss his, right to reject his request for dismissal. So anyway, Judge Pan asked the prosecutor why the government is not contesting jurisdiction, since that would mean the government wins and the case goes back for trial, to which he responded that the government's interest is in seeing that justice is done and in getting the law right, not in gaining a potential advantage in a particular case, which that just goes to show the difference in mindset between the people involved here. Because, Trump is desperately scrabbling for anything he can just to get out of this, whereas the prosecutors are like, no, yeah, I know it's not going to be good for our case to let him appeal here, but
we're not interested in winning. We're interested in seeing things meted out.
Yeah, we want to see things done properly. So if we are doing something improperly, I would like the Court of Appeals to determine that so that it can then be done properly. And if they end up losing, if they end up not having a criminal case against him because of that, then so be it. Now, that's not what would make me happy. But again, what they point out here, the Justice Department always has to be thinking about what precedent it might be setting and the long-term implications of its arguments. So, as badly as I want to see Trump behind bars, if the way they get him there is by setting precedent that is going to lead to dangerous behavior by future presidents and prosecutors or whatever, then I'd rather he not. And so would they.
Let him go through the justice system as it is currently built. Don't try to build it out in such a way that it works better against him, because then that's just bad precedent going forward.
Yeah. And this is kind of like what you were saying last week about the him being taken off the ballot in a bunch of states. Actually, I'm not sure if you said this or if I heard it on a podcast, so maybe correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe it was we'd almost rather just have him on all the ballots and lose definitively, because if he loses while being off the ballot in several states, then that's just going to be it was a rigged election. I wasn't even on the ballot in a couple states because they rigged it. And then that will potentially... Then
every third-party candidate who's ever existed can call every reason they've lost rigged. And technically, there is something to that statement.
Mm-hmm. It would no longer be completely unsubstantiated. It would be a true statement that he had less of a chance to win because they removed him from the ballot. Now, that saying, from a law standpoint, I feel like it's pretty cut and dry that if you engage in insurrection, you should no longer be eligible to be elected to the highest office in the country. That seems like just common sense to me. But again, it's one of those...
What's common sense to you and what's common sense to a Trump supporter will likely be incongruous. Oh, look, another hat.
How does this hat even work?
Is it a beanie? Oh, that's not.
It's not quite a beanie. It's like a stylish kind of thing. I don't know.
What is that?
I think it's like one of those things that's supposed to look kind of like a beret almost.
It looks like it's trying to be chic. Almost. But it feels wrong.
It feels like... No, when you say chic, that was chic, right? Not Sikh, the religion? Because I feel like it's trying to be a turban.
I can understand how that confusion could be there. I'll let you be the judge of which one it was supposed to be.
I'm going to go ahead and take that off because I'm probably just wearing it wrong, but it does look like it's trying to be a turban, and I don't want to look like I'm trying to look like I'm wearing a turban, because that would be problematic.
I did that for an April Fool's video once.
No comment.
Fair enough.
Hashtag cancelsaurus.
Anyways.
Yeah, so the court has raised the possibility of exercising hypothetical jurisdiction. So basically, the idea would be, we agree that the question of jurisdiction is hard and we might not have it, but Trump's argument sucks anyway, so we're just going to deny, like hypothetically, if we had jurisdiction, he would still lose. So let's just say that he has lost. And that's basically where they seem to be headed with regards to the jurisdiction thing, which I think is amazing. It's like, yeah, no, we might not have jurisdiction, but he's going to lose anyway, so just kick it back.
Just let it go.
But also, did you hear the argument that his lawyer was making? Have you heard anything about this?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, so this is fun. So Trump is arguing that the impeachment judgment clause in the Constitution means that a former president may only be criminally prosecuted if he or she was impeached and convicted for the same or similar conduct. So the only time you can prosecute a former president is if they were actually impeached and convicted by the Senate for whatever you're prosecuting them for.
But the only way that you could impeach and prosecute in America is if you happen to have the Senate and the House on the opposite side of the political aisle.
Okay, forget about the forget about the practicality.
Forget about reality.
Forget about the practicality of this for the moment. I have a clip of this. This is Trump's lawyer defending Trump at his last impeachment inquiry. Let's just listen to what his lawyer said then.
Okay. If my colleagues on this side of the chamber actually think that President Trump committed a criminal offense, and let's understand, a high crime is a felony and a misdemeanor is a misdemeanor. The words haven't changed that much over the time. After he's out of office, you go and arrest him. So there is no opportunity where the President of the United States can run rampant in January, the end of his term, and just go away scot-free. The Department of Justice does know what to do with such people.
So his argument against being impeached when he was still president was literally, if I did something wrong, just arrest me when I'm done being president.
Didn't he get arrested in Georgia after he was done being president?
Yes, and now he's arguing that because they didn't impeach and convict him, that he has immunity. They can't actually do anything about that. So he's literally arguing the exact opposite of what he was arguing when he was being impeached.
Why? What? They have to pretend that reality doesn't exist. Because we do have a world where Trump was arrested. We live in it.
But Cyrus, you haven't even considered the worst implication of this.
Okay.
So if a president cannot be prosecuted unless they are both impeached and convicted, that means that a president can do literally any fucking thing while in office. And then if they get caught, as soon as an impeachment inquiry starts up, they just have to resign. And now they never got impeached or convicted, so they can't be charged.
Yeah, it creates a loophole that anyone can use.
Yeah. And this means literally, like, they explicitly ask this lawyer, like, that's just the bit in the Constitution saying, let's see, Trump's argument is that because this clause refers only to the party convicted at impeachment being subject to later prosecution, that means by negative implication that a party who is not convicted after impeachment cannot be prosecuted. So Judge Pan asked Sawyer, I think it's Sauer, if his position meant that if a president sold pardons or sold national security information or ordered SEAL Team 6 to murder a political rival, that president could not be criminally prosecuted unless he was impeached and convicted by the Senate. Sauer squirmed, dodged, and weaved, but Pan did a great job pinning him down, and ultimately he had to agree that, yes, that was their position. So Donald Trump's argument is literally that Joe Biden could have him assassinated right now and face zero consequences because if he got caught, he could just resign before he was impeached.
Man, I wonder what would happen if Democrats decided to stop going high when they went low. I mean, oh, sorry, wait, no, yeah. I didn't say that here. No,
we're just speaking hypothetically. According to Trump's logic, Joe Biden can assassinate him with impunity, with facing zero consequences, except maybe not being president anymore if he gets caught. Like, that's literally the argument. And they literally, the judge literally, like, this is not hyperbole. The judge literally confirmed that, yes, a president could assassinate a political rival. Like,
and that's an okay thing to do. And the only problem they would have is, well, we wouldn't be comfortable with you keeping the chair of presidency, but like jail might be a bit much.
yeah.
You got blood on your hands, but it's not that red.
Sakura points out, also, literally, a rogue president could assassinate enough senators to preclude removal. So
stack the Senate after
God.
killing enough of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is so problematic. Sauer tried to argue that in such a case there would almost certainly be swift impeachment and conviction, so it's not a problem. But that argument doesn't fly. Okay, fine. Another hat.
Boy.
Another hat. Fine. There we go. The red one's back.
More hats for the Hat Club.
Yeah. So the criminal act may not be discovered in time for impeachment or until after the president leaves office, or a president could order a political rival assassinated, wait to see if the conduct was discovered, and if it was, and he was about to be impeached, he could resign and guarantee himself immunity from criminal prosecution for murder. Like, that's literally, like, that's what Judge Childs noted. This is in the court record. That, like, this is not me being hyperbolic, saying that that's the potential outcome. This is literally a matter of court record that Judge Childs confirmed that, yes, that would indeed be the result of granting Trump his argument. Judge Pierce noted that or was it Judge Pierce or is that the prosecutor? I think that's the prosecuting.
It says Pierce noted.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out who Pierce is, and I feel like Pierce was the prosecuting attorney that was working for Smith. Noted that the consequences of Trump's argument lead us to an incredibly frightening world where a president could engage in criminal acts with impunity so long as he managed to avoid being impeached, either through politics, concealing the crimes, or ultimately resigning, or, as Sakura pointed out, murdering the people that found you. Because then if other people find out about those murders, you get the same options.
Can you imagine being a United States president, having access to one of the best espionage teams of all time, and then holding this information in your hand and wondering, what am I going to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
That's the world Trump wants to live in. He wants to wield.
If this is Trump's argument as to why he gets immunity, I almost have hope that the Supreme Court is not quite partisan hacky enough to actually let this go through. I feel like they would see how this could be bad for them.
This would mean that a president could literally just go,
I don't like the Supreme Court. Let's make them all disappear.
Yeah, what if we just disappeared the entire Supreme Court, stacked it with my people, disappeared the Senate, stacked it with my people? Man, it sounds like I've heard of a couple regimes in the past that might have employed strategies like this.
Yeah, so I feel like even this Supreme Court would notice that this is not the world they want to create. I hope.
I think so.
They have ruled semi-sanely on some things that I expected to go the complete opposite way, so I feel like this would not pass muster with them.
I would hope not. However, I am concerned with the behavior of people like Clarence Thomas, for instance, who are entirely bought.
Yeah.
Because
that's just a matter of public record at this point.
Yeah, because there are people, lots of people actually, who are willing to do heinous things if it means they are guaranteed a position of safety in the world that they create by engaging in such an act.
Yeah.
And I do not believe that people like Clarence Thomas are above that kind of behavior.
Yeah. Just have to hope. Okay, and yeah, that's it. That's it for this article. So that's fun. I'm actually.
God, they look so much cleaner now.
What, the articles?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, it's so nice. Best 35 pounds I've ever spent. Anyway, let's start the next story with no hat. Trump's businesses received millions from foreign entities during his presidency, House report says. This came to us from ABC News. Go.com is ABC. And this is from back in December. But, yeah, I think it's worth mentioning, especially, did you follow any of the Hunter Biden stuff that happened today?
No, I did not.
So they were there was a hearing to figure out whether or not they should hold him in contempt of Congress for not following or not cooperating with the subpoena. And he showed up to just sit in the audience and be like, hey, I am willing to testify now that you're televising everything. And I forget who it was, but one of the Democrat senators on the committee was like, hey, Republican people, he's right over there. He's willing to talk in front of us while it's being televised. How many of you want to actually hear from him? And like one of them raised their hand. So they all just flat out admitted, no, we don't actually want to hear about or hear from Hunter. We just want to have the sound bites.
We want the Hunter Biden's laptop thing.
It gets better than that, though, because when it was Marjorie Taylor Greene's time to speak, he stood up and walked out of the room, and all the cameras followed him, and they all went and interviewed him while Marjorie Taylor Greene was supposed to be speaking. It was amazing.
Jesus Christ. This is what happens when you start your career as the Jewish space laser lady. And you never move away from that in your career.
Nope, she has not amounted to anything. But anyway, so with regards to Hunter Biden, they're all talking about how like, oh, he's funneling, like he's taking payments from China and they're enriching themselves from China. Never mind that there's zero evidence that Biden has introduced any legislation that would benefit China in any way. I don't know, Trump actively did things that, like, we'll see in this article, there were some countries that should not, I mean, like Saudi Arabia. States probably shouldn't be friendly with Saudi Arabia. I get why they are, but they shouldn't be. They're basically a terrorist state. And Trump, immediately after they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars at one of his properties, he announced that Saudi Arabia would be the first country that he would visit as president. First time in American history that a president has visited Saudi Arabia as the first country since they took office, and it came right after they spent a bunch of money at one of his properties. So, like,
there's no corruption here. What are you talking about?
Meanwhile, there's zero evidence that Biden has passed any legislation or executive orders or anything specifically to benefit China, regardless of whether or not Hunter has been paid by Chinese companies. And it's like, it's not illegal for the son of the president to have a business in China. If it was, Donald Trump would be in trouble because what's-her-face got like $2 billion worth of patents in China while he was president.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. That's a whole other story.
It's so confusing to me, especially when you point out the beginning of the Hunter Biden thing where he goes, hey, I'm here. If you want to talk with me or you want to get my perspective on anything, you can do it because I'm literally here for you to lambast if you want to. It's frustrating because it means that no matter what, the Republican Party, their goal is just throw their political opponents under the rug, make themselves look better, make their opponents look bad, and sell that to their audience. And I use that term very deliberately because it is a transaction. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're going to paint Hunter walking out on Marjorie Taylor Greene as though he was afraid of her. It's like, no, that was just blatant disrespect because she was the one that brought pictures of his penis into Congress.
Look, if there's one thing the Republican Party knows already, Rhino, it's the size of Hunter Biden's balls.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, so understandably, he didn't want to hear from her. He didn't want to hear from the person that literally published uncensored pictures of his penis in Congress. Anyway, Trump's business has received millions from foreign entities during his presidency, House report says. Former President Donald Trump's business received millions of dollars from foreign entities located in 20 different countries during his presidency, according to a new report. They show that governments including China and Saudi Arabia paid at least $7.8 million during his presidency to business entities that included Trump International Hotels in Washington and Las Vegas and Trump Towers in New York. And like, this is... I remember when, like, I learned the word emoluments when Trump was first elected, but before he took office, where they were all like, are you actually going to like stop running your businesses like you're supposed to as president? And everybody was like, oh yeah, no, he's gonna like hand over control of his business to other people. And then he never did. And like in theory, other people were running them, but everything was still in his name. And then like, yeah, this was like the worst kept secret of his presidency, where everybody knew, like they could see that he was enriching himself by having people stay at his properties and whatnot. But
what's funny is
now
that
it's a matter of congressional report.
People have tried to say that actually, no, he lost a lot of money as president. Like, no,
Yeah.
not really.
Yeah, they try to say, oh, he donated his $400,000 a year paycheck as president to the government. It's like, okay, but he made at least $7.8 million per year, not per year, but like over the course of 4 years. It's like almost $2 million a year from having people stay at his properties because he's the president and they want to make him happy, so they'll stay at his properties. Now, Grant, I know that like them paying $7.8 million to use the hotels, I know that there's like overhead in running the hotels and whatnot, so this isn't $7.8 million of profit, but the point still stands. He profited from other governments wanting to, entice him. And
they wanted to curry favor with the current United States president. That position does not come without some level of notoriety.
Yeah, so Representative Raskin wrote in the report, by elevating his personal financial interests and the policy priorities of the corrupt foreign powers over the American public interest, former President Trump violated both the clear commands of the Constitution and the careful precedents set and observed by every previous commander-in-chief. So yeah, he was the first president to not hand over his businesses while he was president, and he made a bunch of money from it. So yeah, Saudi Arabia likely paid Trump-owned businesses at least $615,422 during Trump's first term in office. And while the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is making these payments, President Trump chose Saudi Arabia as the destination of his first overseas trip, a choice that was unprecedented among U.S. presidents. So that seems pretty tit for tat. Quid pro quo, you might say.
You mean that thing you're not allowed to do as a president?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. It sounds like this word that looks illegal.
Yeah. So the report claims that the payments violated the Constitution's Foreign Emoluments Clause, a rule that bars the president and other federal officials from accepting money or gifts from foreign governments without congressional approval. I feel like that's pretty straightforward. Yes?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like if the rule literally says the president is not allowed to do these things that directly enrich him. Seems kind of straightforward.
Yep. Seems like it. Through entities he owned and controlled, President Trump accepted at minimum millions of dollars in foreign emoluments in violation of the United States Constitution. The documents obtained from the former President Trump's accounting firm demonstrate that four Trump-owned properties together collected at the least millions of dollars in payments from foreign governments and officials that violated the Constitution's prohibition on emoluments of any kind whatever from foreign governments. Yeah, so of any kind whatever would include, I will stay at your hotel.
You know the frustrating thing about this, though? I know that Trump supporters are going to look at this and they're going to say to themselves and other people, are you telling me that in America it's illegal for someone to make a little bit of money on the side? Are you serious? I thought we had freedom.
And then they will completely miss how, like, that would completely undermine their whole thing against Hunter Biden. It's like, Hunter Biden's
a little bit of money on the side.
He's not even in office, and they're all over how he can't make money from China because that's a conflict of interest for the president.
But the president's name isn't Hunter.
Yeah. And also, the only evidence that they've come up with so far of anything that might even be considered wrongdoing, which when you take the 5 seconds to look into what it is not wrongdoing. The only evidence they've come up with is stuff that happened when Joe Biden was not in office. Like, while Trump was president. So it's like, there's nothing in the law that says you can't have Chinese businesses and then run for president later.
So they'll use that, and then they'll play the exact clip over and over of Hunter Biden walking out.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it looks like when you've enriched yourself through foreign affairs as somebody who should know better. And then, you know, we just ignore that Trump did all those things.
Yep. And that's where we're at.
God, I love America. We're so functional.
Yeah. I mean, currently functional, mostly.
I've been told if I don't like it, I can leave.
Oh, Venix Primal says, by the way, I love both your guys' content. Thank you, Venix.
I appreciate it.
And yeah, no, if people don't like it, they can't necessarily leave. Leaving the country is a big endeavor.
It requires lots of money.
Yeah. You know how, despite what Republicans will tell you about the invasion at the southern border, it's actually hard to, like, get a green card and work legally in the States if you weren't born there?
Yeah.
Like, it actually is really difficult. Other countries have similar things in place where you can't just move there and get a job. You have to, like, go through the appropriate channels and get approval and, like, residency cards, and you have to have, like, good reason for leaving.
Yeah, you have to have, like, it's one of the reasons why people use marriage often as a shortcut through that
marriage
process.
is the easiest way to do it. Like, but like I can only marry one person to get them into Canada.
Well,
you're already here. Did I just propose accidentally?
You did. Congratulations. We'll get someone to officiate. It'll be fine. Actually, we know a few people who can.
I can, just not in Canada.
You can't do it for yourself. That'd be weird.
Yes, you can. Why not?
Through the power invested in me, by me, for me.
I now pronounce me.
I now pronounce me, man and wife.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Tweet time. Starting off with Jesse Waters. Says, is Taylor Swift a Pentagon PSYOP asset?
What the hell does that even mean? What do those words mean?
So this was a video that he played, and he's such a fucking idiot. The way he made the connection. So you know what a PSYOP is, right?
Yes, I'm aware.
Yeah, okay. So there was a presentation given at a NATO meeting of, like, online security stuff or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was a NATO meeting, and someone that Jesse Waters said was from the Pentagon, but it didn't actually say who she was or what her job was there. He just said she was from the PSYOP department. And
okay.
I feel like that's not really a thing. Maybe it is. I don't know. But
I feel like they would have a department of counterintelligence.
Yeah, something like that.
And then within that department, PSYOPs would be a thing that they would cover, and you might have specialists in the department that are specifically acquainted with dealing with PSYOPs and how they are very infiltrative. Wow, what am
infiltrative?
Infiltrative. There
infiltrative.
We go. Why is my brain just stopped? It was like, hey, this is a word you know, but I'm not going to let you say it. So instead, we're just going to make it really, really hard to not stumble over.
I used to have that problem with superfluous.
I used to have that problem as well with that exact word. My AOIT teacher said it once, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting word. I like it. And the word is way too large, which is perfect for what that word is.
Yep.
And I couldn't pronounce it for a straight year.
Yeah.
I think I said, like, Sopophorus.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, so in the video, he shows that, like, this, and he says that, like, at this meeting, they floated the idea of using Taylor Swift in a PSYOP. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that they took the shit in that video completely out of context, because, like, it just seemed like a presentation on, like, how certain influencers can shape the views of the general population. Like it was and they use Taylor Swift as an example of someone that has that ability.
Well, because her fan base is considered almost a cult.
Yeah, but never did they say, "Hey, we should use this." It was just as an example, Taylor Swift, and that was it. End of sentence. It's just okay, that's not them saying that they are going to use her as a psyop. That's just them saying that this is an example of someone who has lots of influence. Okay, are you going to disagree that she has lots of influence? Because she does. Like her or hate her, she has influence.
We're not allowed to say anything about Taylor Swift, or the Taylor Swift cultists will come and swiftly deal with us.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Jesus Christ. So there was I think it was Meat Canyon, I want to say, who did a video about the Taylor Swift cult thing as it is parody, but it's funny that the Jesse Waters conversation we're having right now is a month after that video was posted.
Yeah, well, Jesse Waters is if Tucker Carlson was half as smart as Tucker Carlson is now, which that seems impossibly stupid.
I feel
because Tucker Carlson is a fucking idiot, but Jesse Waters is somehow even more of an idiot.
There is one thing that I'd like to note, though. The default face of Jesse Waters and the default face of Tucker Carlson are completely reversed from one another. Mm-hmm. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah. Jesse Waters seems like he's smug and he understands something that nobody else does, whereas Tucker Carlson seems like an idiot.
Angry and confused.
He's just he doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Tucker Carlson.
He's like an old man that just walked into the 5-story parking garage and doesn't know what level his car's on.
The angry Tucker Carlson face.
Yeah.
Jeez, what else do we have here?
Oh, these are comments on this was on my video 10 things that don't make sense about Christianity. Mm-hmm. This person never made it past the intro. Yeah, that was funny. First error of fact, there are not thousands of Christian denominations that disagree on fundamental doctrines. In fact, there are none. Do better research.
But
all Christians agree on the fundamental aspects of their religion.
Right, first saved, always saved.
Yeah,
and faith versus works.
Or whether or not you need to get absolution through a priest.
Yeah. They agree on all those things.
Whether
the Trinity. They agree on the Trinity.
Or whether the listening to rock music will send you to hell.
Whether Pokemon is actually a demonic substance that leaks out of your game cartridges. I
was just telling my partner earlier today, when I was in the Christian high school that I went to, we had a lot of international students, and mm-hmm. I was fascinated with the Asian the written languages from Asia, and I think it was just part of my ADHD brain that I couldn't.
It fixated on it.
It fixated on it, but it was partly because I couldn't parse it. I couldn't logically, things like Chinese pictographs or whatever, they make sense in that a lot of the words are almost visual representations of the things that they actually are. But I could never remember what's what or figure out how they interacted with each other. And I don't know, I was fascinated by it. And so I would, in the math room, there was a banner at the top that had the numbers 1 to 10 in Chinese. Mm-hmm. And I was copying them out one day, and the teacher looked down, saw me drawing Chinese numbers, and immediately was like, "Are you drawing symbols from the Blair Witch Project?"
What?
I'm like, "No. You know the Blair Witch is evil, right?" I'm like,
that's not what you're writing.
This is 5 in Chinese. It's right there, see?
That reminds me of so when I was Pensacola Christian Academy had a summer camp called Camp of the Pines. Ooh. And I would go there every year, and I loved it because I was a kid, and it was a week away from home in a summer camp with a bunch of people who may or may not have been my friends. Hell, if I remember. And it had a pool and all kinds of activities, and I loved it. I'm going to be honest, I would probably go back and do it again if I had a chance. even
Fucking
though all
Jassa.
the indoctrination is there.
Fucking
And
Jassa.
I remember that they had this little conveniences shop in the recreation ring. And so I was a Bionicle fan as a kid. I loved the comics, I collected the toys, and they had the Bionicle pens in the convenience shop in the recreation area of Camp of the Pines. Remember, this is a place owned and operated by Pensacola Christian Academy.
Mm-hmm.
So, when that summer was over, I had my Bionicle pen, and the masks could actually get attached. The cool thing about the pen was the masks could be pulled off of the pen and then put on the smaller Bionicle figures. It was meant to be able to attach to anything. So I had my Bionicle figure because we had a toy day every other Friday, and I brought my Bionicles because I would use my Bionicle pen in class, and a teacher decided to there was a particular way you would get in trouble for bringing in something with satanic influence in PCA that would involve the thing getting confiscated and potentially detention.
Yeah.
And that happened to me because of the Bionicles that I
bought
brought
from their own
that
store.
I bought from them.
Well, that's how they get more of your money. They confiscate the thing and then you have to buy it again.
So
Neuromptoputs brought up Calvinism. So Calvinism, they believe that God predetermined who will go to heaven and hell. That's a pretty big difference from the other denominations. Now, I haven't...
The deterministic Christian faiths are something wild.
This person posted a second error effect that kind of made me think that this is one of those people as like, there are not thousands of Christian denominations that disagree on fundamental doctrines. There are, in fact, none, because only true Christians will agree on the fundamental doctrines.
True Christians don't put sugar in their
porridge. Yeah, so this is the person that says anyone who disagrees with me is not a true Christian, which all those other denominations would also say, which plays exactly into the point that I was making. And the second error, they say, is the Christian God does not require specific behaviors for salvation, only one. Accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Again, do more research. Okay, first off, only one is a specific behavior. You just said he doesn't require specific behaviors. But the point that I was making in the video is that different Christian denominations disagree on what these specific behaviors are. So, like, Catholicism, for instance, they will tell you that, like, if you are baptized, you're probably saved, but you also have to do the works. And, like, they are not just a faiths-only thing. But, again, this is one of those things where, in proving this one wrong, I also prove his first one wrong. Like, because there are churches that require specific behaviors for salvation, then this is him disagreeing with those churches, which he says Christians don't do. So, yeah, he loses.
Real Christians don't disagree with each other on the fundamentals, except for all the fundamentals they disagree with each other on.
Yeah.
That's tiring is what that is.
These comments were fun for me. And then what was even more like, I didn't remember mentioning the thousands of denominations in that video, so like I watched most of that video again, but I skipped the intro because I'm like, oh, I don't say anything important in the intro, whatever. And so I got through the whole thing, and then it was like, fuck, I just wasted like half an hour watching myself on 2x speed. Why did I do that? I didn't even mention the thing. Where did he get that from? Then I went back and watched the intro. It was the first thing I fucking said. I'm like, God damn it.
So the guy probably didn't even watch the video so much as he just heard something he disagreed with, paused the video, typed it out in the comments section, and then left to go FAP.
Yeah, basically.
Great.
Oh, Brian Holsworth, speaking of Catholics, he says, we all know the Inquisition used witch trials to satiate its bloodlust. News Protestants diligently spread to the rest of the world. But according to this, between 1300 and 1850, Protestant countries executed more quote-unquote witches than were ever even tried in Catholic countries. So...
I don't care who murdered more!
Yeah, so, like, that was my first impression with this, was that, like...
Why do I care who murders more?
It was like... Oh, you think I'm bad for executing witches? Well, they executed more witches. Like, okay, you're both bad. You're so close. But, Cyrus.
Yeah?
You want to know when the Protestant Reformation took place? So it was not 1300.
No, go ahead and tell me.
It was like 1517. And so like the reason he's off to the side where the others weren't is I actually have some hidden text here that I'm going to make readable now. So I've looked at the list. Germany was Catholic until the 1550s. So and they were only half Catholic, like they were still half Catholic afterwards. There was a north-south divide where like northern Germany was Protestant, southern Germany was Catholic. So like until the 1550s, they were Catholic. So that's almost half of that 1300 to 1850 time period that he's got there. And then after the 1550s, they were still half Catholic. So, and this isn't dividing it between North and South Germany. This is just Germany.
So this is also just historical misinfo.
Yeah. So that's like how many of those 9,587 or no, sorry, how many of those 16,474 people that were tried, how many of them were tried by Catholics in South Germany and how many were tried by Protestants in North Germany? We don't know from this graph. And I didn't go into, this is fucking Twit tweets. I didn't go to that. Like this is deeper research than I normally do. Switzerland was Catholic until the 1550s, and then it remained almost half Catholic after the Protestant Reformation. So similar situation there. France, Catholicism was their official state religion until 1905. So
the Catholics were doing all these things anyway.
So he just looked at this list and he was like, in modern day today, the top countries are Catholic and the bottom one, or no, sorry, the top countries are Protestant, the bottom ones are Catholic. But if you actually look historically, France was Catholic until 1905. That's only a little over a century ago. And that's well after this graph ends. Scotland, they were officially Catholic until 1560. And then they had that whole Jacobite rebellion thing. I think they actually outlawed Catholicism, so they actually went a bit more hardcore than the other countries did. So maybe a point there. Half a point, because it's still 1560 is almost halfway through the 1300 to 1850 time period. Spain has a super complicated religious history. They were Muslim for a while. Then there was like during the Crusades, the Pope actually like sent messages to a bunch of knights telling them that like, no, don't go help out in the Middle East, go to Spain because we need to spread the good news there or whatever, spread the good news with the sword. But like Spain, like we're talking about the Inquisition, most famous Inquisition. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, except here we do.
Catholic.
Yeah, so Spain is Catholic and they're pretty high up on the list.
So no matter what way you analyze the words that he said, they're all wrong.
Yeah. And like I kept on going a little bit. I stopped at England because England was pretty complete. Like most people, when they think England, when did they stop being Catholic? It's like, oh, Henry VIII wanted to annul his marriage and the Catholic Church wouldn't do it. So he split and formed the Church of England. Except his successors recreated the ties with Rome. And they actually, when they reestablished their ties with Rome, Queen Mary burned hundreds of Protestants at the stake for heresy. That's another part of this that isn't really covered here. It's not just how many witch trials were there and how many quote-unquote witches were executed. There's also how many other people were killed for like heresy. So like Queen Mary...
How many bodies are we piling up on the pyre?
Yeah, so like England, we've got a total of 1,190... So 1,200 people tried for witchcraft. 367 of them were burned or were executed for witchcraft. At least 300 Protestants were executed for being Protestant under Queen Mary. So like that's almost the same as the number of witches in a 550-year period.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Queen Mary did not rule for a very long time. It was less than a decade. So in less than 10 years, I think the 300 Protestants, that was all in 1 year. So in 1 year, the Catholic Church killed 300 Protestants by burning them at the stake for being Protestant. And he's trying to tell us that the Catholic Church is better because they burned less witches, fewer witches.
It sounds better when you just say burned less, though. I'm not even going to lie.
No, it sounds better when you say burned fewer.
Nah. Sounds more punchy the other way. But it's confusing to me because it's not only a conversation he's trying to have about, don't worry, we were like 2% less shitty, and that's somehow important. It's baffling that it's happening at all, because this is the type of mental gymnastics that you only fall into when you are currently in a position where you feel like you desperately need to defend it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I desperately need to defend a whole bunch of people dying for the sake of my religion, just like I don't need to defend when the United States goes and does something shitty in another country.
Oh.
I don't have to defend that.
Yeah, also I'm going to look this up now because I seem to recall
You seem to recall.
Yeah, no, I'm looking into things.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Then in that case, let's go ahead and hold a bingo game for everybody who's in the chat. So anytime you're arguing with a Catholic apologist, I just want you to play a little fun game of bingo, right? The fun game is going to be figure out which commonalities there are in every single one of these arguments you have with an apologist. And then when you go to the next apologist, just start writing it down every single time. And don't even tell them that you're playing bingo with their defensive arguments. Just as they say things, name the ones that you've got and don't explain it until they ask. Just keep on doing it. It is one of the most frustrating things you can do to somebody who can only use the same argument over and over again with barely any polishing.
Okay, so I'm having trouble finding this, but when the Protestant Reformation happened in Germany, that kicked off a series of events that eventually led to the 30 Years' War, which I was trying to find the graph that I've used in other videos in the past, but I seem to recall the 30 Years' War, by percentage of the population of the planet that died in the war, it was the most deadly war ever up until, I think it even beat World War One. It lasted like up until World War Two.
How do you...
And like just... And that was sparked by the Catholic Church fighting violently to maintain its control of Germany, mostly. There's a lot more to it than that. It was a very complicated socio-political, economic thingamajig going on, but like there were religious undertones that were like the Catholics very much wanted to use it to maintain their grasp of control. So yeah, when you include things like that, that's a bit worse. Also, with regards to the burning of witches, like it's so specific. Like this is all about just the burning of the witches, and I'm like, I wouldn't have even thought of Europe when thinking of witch trials. I think of North America. I think of Protestants in North America.
You think of the town of Salem?
Yeah.
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 Oh, weird that.
And even then, like, North America was actually, like, apparently, according to the numbers, North America was nowhere near as deadly as Europe was as far as the witch trials go, but they're the ones that are famous for it, and it was Protestants doing it then. So it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, no, I didn't really associate witch trials with the Catholic Church, but there's a whole lot of other heinous shit that I associate with them.
It's weird that when your defense that you bring up somehow implicates you more in a way that nobody was actually trying to do in the first place. Like,
yeah.
We killed many Protestants, but at least we didn't kill as many witches.
Okay.
This matters.
So I'm pretty sure we've covered this exact tweet before, but if Frank felt the need to tweet it out again, then we can cover it again. He says, some people will say, well, why doesn't God stop all evil right now? If God were to stop all evil at midnight tonight, would you still be alive at 12:01? I wouldn't be. You wouldn't be either. Why? We all do evil every day.
Depends on the severity of the evil, Frank.
Why does he think that the omnipotent, omniscient creator of the universe can't possibly stop evil without killing people?
Because his mythos includes the flood. and the tribulation. Like
why is violence the only answer?
Because violence is the only answer that's ever presented in the Bible.
Like, according to these people, God created the laws of the universe, the laws of physics. God could have designed a universe in which it is impossible for people to be mean to each other in any way, shape, or form. He could have done that. That is within his ability. You might make the free will argument that that's not, like that wouldn't comport with free will, but that is a thing that he could do. And I feel like there are all sorts of iterations in between that and the universe that we have today that would also at least get rid of most of the evil that we see existing without murdering everybody.
You would think that, but unfortunately, this is a religion that argues that there was so much evil in the world once because people wanted to fuck angels that we needed to flood it. And then that didn't work out because we have to do it again at some point in the future, maybe.
Yeah, God's plan in Noah's flood failed. Objectively, it failed. His objective was to wipe evil off the face of the earth. And then evil came back. Oh my God.
It's kind of a funny thought.
Hats again.
So
right,
many
we're going back to the ears.
So funny thought. It's impossible for an omnipotent being to have a plan B. Because they've considered all their plans all at once, and they know
exactly which one.
They know which one's going to work. There can be no plan B because everything necessarily has to be plan A. It always has to be plan A. It can't be anything else.
Yeah, unless they intended to, like, if God's intention with making the universe was not anything to do with loving the beings that he created. Oh, Small Fry 15 rated. Hi, Small Fry. Hi, Small Fry's viewers. How was your stream? I'm gradually learning the Twitch etiquette, as like every time I've rated someone else, they've all been like, "Oh, hey, I hope you enjoyed your stream." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, maybe I should say that when people raid me."
Maybe common courtesy.
Maybe.
Anyway,
Small Fry.
One person in your chat's name is Paimon is not emergency food, and I disagree with them. Paimon is emergency food.
Paimon? I'm not seeing that one. Now I'm just going to be scanning my chat.
Over in
Twitch
chat.
There it is. There it is.
Paimon is in fact emergency food.
I don't know what Paimon is.
So, in Genshin Impact, the Navi type character in the game's name is Paimon, and there is a multiple choice answer to who your companion is when you're talking to NPCs. And oftentimes when you're asked to describe Paimon to people, one of the options is, "This is my emergency food." And it causes her to flip her shit on you.
All right, Small Fry 15 says, "I grind FGO just like you." I don't know what that means. Do you know what FGO is?
I don't know either, actually.
Is that a game?
Maybe. I have no idea what FGO is.
Fate Grand Order?
Oh, Fate Grand Order. Oh. I don't know. I don't think either of us play.
It's not outside the realm of possibility that I have accidentally tagged this stream as me playing Fate Grand Order.
Rhino? Did you accidentally tag the stream as you playing Fate Grand Order?
I don't think I did, but it is not outside the realm of possibility. My channel.
I can't be that upset, but it's very funny.
Yeah. No, stop. No, it says just chatting.
Oh, okay. Well.
Okay. Well, thanks for the raid. I'm sorry that somebody lied to you about what I do. Okay. Back to tweets. Joseph L. Trahan says, I will introduce... Oh, this is a representative.
Okay.
I will introduce legislation for it to be a felony criminal act to use mRNA in the food and water supply with mandatory jail time, no exceptions. It's proving to be a bioweapon at best and proven tool of genocide and suffering at worst.
What?
Joseph wants food to be illegal.
Food has RNA.
Yeah, all food.
It's impossible for food to exist without it having RNA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rhino, who are these people?
These people are idiots.
Why do they run our country? My country. Damn it.
Yeah, this is
You're
a
not
representative.
American.
This is a representative in your government.
Yeah? God, that makes me want to die.
Yeah, that's... He's a candidate. He's not currently a representative.
That's
but
fine.
He's running for Texas state senator.
Oh, it's in Texas. He's going to win.
Yeah, there's a good chance that he will be a representative, especially on a platform like this.
This is literally somebody just going, what's the thing that my constituents are upset about and scared of? Let me go ahead and tell them that I will save them from the thing you're scared of. You may not understand it, and I sure as fuck don't understand it, but I will save you.
Yeah. Yep.
What the fuck?
Ugh.
Why are people...
I mean, like, there's a part of me that wants to be like, oh, no, he's not going to win because he's clearly an idiot. But, yeah, no, the Jewish space lasers lady won. So...
Her situation's interesting, though. She didn't win the first time. The first time she won by default because her opponent left the state because there was a campaign against him that he ended up fucking off for. And then the second time she was the incumbent, and you're in Georgia and you're the red incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That situation's a bit unique, but it still is a failure of United States democracy.
Yeah, Paimon Not an Emergency Food says, anyway, I don't get this at all. What are you all doing? We don't know. We don't know what we're doing.
No,
yeah, no, this is a show called Twit Tweets. We go over some news and then respond to some tweets from some twits, like this guy. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I've been getting way more negative comments on my videos on this channel than I do on my main channel.
We don't like it when you're being condescending about people on Twitter.
So, remember when we talked about James Somerton a few weeks ago?
Yep.
Yeah, so that video, the bit where we talked about James Somerton got put into the random clips of us being off topic. And then, of course, like, I'm a professional YouTuber. I try not to utilize clickbait too much, but like, if there's something in the video that I know is going to generate more clicks, that's what I'm going to title the video after. And the James Somerton thing was hot, so I titled the video about James Somerton, even though we only discussed him for a couple minutes. But like, the whole thing is just random discourse that didn't fit anywhere else. But like, I was getting comments on that being like, they don't even talk about James Somerton for 6 minutes, and then when they do, it's barely at all. You're like, yeah, but that's why in brackets at the end of the title I said, and other random off-topic rambling or whatever.
These people have never consumed a podcast.
I don't know. The podcasts I consumed are better edited than whatever I do.
Most of the podcasts I've consumed in my life haven't actually been edited at all.
Yeah, there are some that are like that, but most people can't pull that off. Like, when I was doing the podcast with Lily, I would edit out anytime we said like I do all the time. And that would
drive me insane.
Yeah, it took a lot of time, but like when you leave the ums in, it doesn't sound as good. And I say a lot.
True.
I try to avoid it, but I usually forget that I'm trying to avoid it.
I've been told that I don't say that much, but I don't notice whether I am or not. So
okay, chat, be nice to the new people. Don't scare them off with the drywall stuff and pretending to eat them. I think Axolotl is doing.
So that makes sense. Okay, cool. So chat that came over from my channel, not everybody's as cursed as y'all.
Yeah.
That tells me it's my people.
Poor Paimon. No, well, Axolotl's usually in both our chats.
Yeah. True.
Okay. Oh, no, that's...
Hey, look! It's that person again.
Yeah, no, that was just before I split it up. I forgot to delete it. Christ is Lord says, atheism is neither an intelligent nor a rational position to hold. From Psalm 14, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, they do vile deeds, there is no one who does good. I
don't have to care.
So, like, this post contained the entirety of Psalm 14, but, like, the first 3 lines there, to me, just kind of, like, existence proves it wrong. Like, there are none who do good. Like, there are atheists who do good. Like, I have mentioned that when I did the tally of how much money I've raised for charity for my local food bank through my atheist YouTube channel over the last, I think it was 5 years, it was over $70,000. I'd say that's pretty good.
I'd say that's pretty good too. That's a reasonable amount of good.
Yeah. Like, it's not amazing, but, like, it's more than most people do.
It's more than nothing.
Yeah. And, like, I don't say that to, like, toot my own horn. Because, like, it's not me giving the $70,000. It's all you guys. But, like, but if anything, that just makes my point even more, is that, like, my community of atheists who are following me, well, mostly atheists, are a handful of... They're a smattering of other religions. There's some Christians who follow me and actually, like, agree with a lot of what I say, but then they're like, I've got a lot of pagans in my audience as well. Yeah, no, the fact that there's so many of us that have collectively done this good,
it's good with compounding.
It just proves this wrong. Absolutely, 100%, it is wrong. So, yeah, to say that atheism is neither intelligent nor rational, and then quoting a Bible verse that explains something that is demonstrably false. Like, I feel like this is a pot calling the kettle black situation.
Yeah. It's confusing too, because the way that I've heard Christians have to square this particular round shape is they'll go, okay, so atheists can do good things, but without Jesus, they cannot be truly good. But, well, that's not what Psalm says.
That's not what it says. It says that there's none who does good. The way I've heard this squared makes this verse entirely, to bring it back to our earlier discussion, superfluous. They will use that word again. They will use Romans 1:20 to be like, well, there's really no such thing as an atheist, because Romans 1:20 says that everybody believes in God. They just deny his truth in their unrighteousness. So when they do good things, that's because they believe in God. And when they do bad things, that's because they're an atheist. But then there's no point in this verse existing, because, like, the fool says in his heart there is no God, they are corrupt, they do vile deeds, there's no one who does good. Well, according to Romans 1:20, there is no one of that disposition who exists. So why does this verse exist? Why do you need to tell us that if these people don't exist?
There are people who do good and are atheists. There are people who do bad and are Christian. And I don't care what your God says about them, because your God is not my God. I don't have to care what he says about me or anyone else. I've never had to care about what he says about me or anyone else. I'm sorry.
Oh, the NB Vixen is here. Love your screen name. Hi, NB Vixen. They say hi.
They say hi back.
Yeah. Red Pill Apologist. You know, anything with the words red pill.
It says red pill. I already want to die.
Having studied the philosophy of atheism for a quarter of a century now, I believe many atheists actually suffer from autism and extreme childhood trauma.
There's a lot of atheists who are autistic. What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of those, like, this is him trying to be sophisticated about saying atheists have a mental disorder.
Yeah, that's... And so here's the frustrating thing about this, though. If somebody is autistic, does that mean they're incorrect when they say something because they're autistic? No, you'd have to be an idiot to have that opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't God, it's weird that I have to default to the I don't know why I care. But legitimately, if a lot of atheists are autistic or have trauma, I don't know why I have to care about that.
But also, like, that kind of speaks to God's design, though, does it not? Like, if God designs you with autism, and then your autism causes you not to believe in God,
then God designed you not to believe in God.
God designed you not to believe in God. Yeah, exactly. Like, that seemed like this is a fault with God more than it's a fault with people with autism. And everybody in the chat is saying, like, yeah, I have autism. I don't suffer from autism. Because, like, yeah, autism is something that, in most cases, it's perfectly able to, like, you're perfectly able to live with it. And it's not necessarily correlative with atheism. Though I could see, like, my partner keeps diagnosing me as she thinks I have autism, that I may be on the spectrum. And part of the reason for that is because I am very literal minded.
Mm-hmm.
And and this might, like, I could see this contributing to atheism, because like that was kind of my journey, was that, like, well, if an all-powerful God exists and he wrote this book is going to say what he wants it to say. End of story. And it says stuff that doesn't make sense. Therefore, that God doesn't exist. I could see how having autism could encourage that sort of line of thinking. But, like, autism or not, I don't think that matters. Like, I think that's still a valid line of, I still think that's a valid line of reason.
Inquiry.
But, like, I could see how someone with autism might be more prone to going down that path than someone without autism. Yeah, and people are saying ADHD. Yeah, I definitely have ADHD, but there is a lot of overlap. And there actually has been some research recently that suggests that ADHD might be itself a form of autism.
Yeah, there is a lot of research also
they are
that
definitely
shows that
related.
Well,
yeah, different presentation. It's if I recall correctly, this thing that said that people with ADHD are, like, ADHD is a subset of autism, is, like, it's a different presentation of the same thing.
Okay.
It's kind of like how, how, like, there's the typical male and typical female presentation of ADHD, where, like, the typical female presentation is it's more internalized rather than external, running around like crazy. It's just internally, the brain doesn't shut up and keeps going all over the place, and you can't pay attention, but you can sit still. So, like, I actually was not diagnosed with ADHD as a child because I have the typically female presenting version primarily.
Rhino is a typical female. He's a basic bitch.
Well, that's why we use the word typically. I'm not going to deny that I'm a basic bitch, but that is why we use the word typically, because it's not exclusively female, it's not exclusively male, it's a spectrum. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, all that aside, they then go on to say they project their hate for their absentee father or weak father onto God. It's a classic example of projection, and it's a pathology that they suffer from. My dad is great. I don't consider him to be weak, and he's not absent. So
all this is it's somebody trying to minimize the experience that atheists have legitimately had in their lives. They're trying to go, okay, so it can't be that you've done research and came to your conclusion. It has to be that you're autistic. It can't be that you had reasoned discussion and came to your own thoughts on this. It has to be that your dad hates you. It can't be, in no way can it exist in this type of person's mind that an atheist is a well-reasoned person that came to a conclusion legitimately. There has to be some extracurricular reason that it happened. Otherwise, it, for some reason, throws their faith into question.
Well,
that would be my guess.
It's such a Christian trope. Like, this is where, like, he says, having studied the philosophy of atheism. Like, no, you didn't study philosophy if you're coming back saying that, like, it's their absentee father. Like, to me, that says that you studied the philosophy of atheism as it's presented by Christian cinema in God's Not Dead or whatever. Like,
also, if you're studying the philosophy of atheism,
I'm sorry, Cute Dark Arts, I'm out of water.
there is nothing in the quote philosophy of atheism that has anything to do with trauma, lack of a father, or autism, because there's nothing in philosophy that has to do with autism.
Well, I mean, I could see how certain aspects of philosophy could be relevant to, like, philosophy can get its little claws into anything that it touches.
No, it
like,
certainly can.
I am speaking of this like kind of dismissively, but I do acknowledge that philosophy is an important area of inquiry. It can be useful to people that study it to like help them like reason out things and see where other people might be like experiencing flaws in their reasoning and whatnot. But people that get too into philosophy often get like stuck up their own ass about it. Like,
that's been my experience with dealing with some of the same people together collectively that get stuck up their own ass about philosophy. Don't worry, they're just asking questions because
someone redeemed the hat.
So you must have another hat.
I almost missed it. I could have just pretended that I didn't see it. Fuck, there's the inside. Yeah.
More hats for the hat god.
Not that it matters, it doesn't fit over my friggin' thingamajiggies.
His head boobies.
My head boobies?
Well, you said thingamajiggies plural, so
yeah.
I'm just trying to think of something you would have that would be plural, and that just popped into my head.
Yeah, Cute Dark Eyes says philosophy major. Nerd! Yeah, so there was a brief period of my high school life where I considered majoring in philosophy when I went to college. I'm glad that I decided against it, but yeah, I could easily have seen myself becoming one of the people that gets stuck up their own asses about it.
I was one of the people that got stuck up my own ass about it. In the earlier portions of my channel, I was really, really into philosophy and was researching it all the fucking time. And when I would do videos, I was the fallacy bingo type of YouTuber a lot, where it'd be like, what you said is fallacious because it falls in line with this thing, and this is an error of logic on your part. And I would do it all the time, and I'll still do it now because I still retain a lot of that knowledge from when I was fixated on it. But like, when that hyperfixation died, I could tell, because I immediately went, a lot of these people fucking suck. The minute that my brain wasn't philosopher-broing anymore, I could tell.
Well, I think for me, so when I was in high school, I was a Christian. And so I think the appeal of philosophy was like, it's a lot of complicated language that it takes a lot of effort to understand, but once you do understand it, then there's supposedly stuff like supporting God, like it explains the reason why God would allow evil. It explains how God would exist. And like, so it was like faith confirming, but in a way that seemed intellectual. And that really appealed to me as someone like, I've always been into science and I've always considered myself to be intelligent. And so seeing myself as an intellectual, I'd be like, oh, well, I should absolutely go into this philosophy stuff so I can intellectualize my faith. And if I'd have done that, I feel like I might have turned into Cameron Bertuzzi. Except I imagine I would have been better at the philosophy stuff than him.
You wouldn't be doing overly produced YouTube shorts telling atheists that they're actually stupid, really?
I haven't seen his shorts.
Oh.
But yeah, no, as far as the logical fallacies go, like this is one of the things where like philosophy can help, because you can not only learn how to identify the logical fallacies and see when people are using them, but when you actually come to understand, like one of the things that a lot of philosophers, either they don't understand it or they just ignore it, is that a logical fallacy does not necessarily mean that the argument that they're using is fallacious. It depends, like, we're talking about the informal logical fallacies versus the formal logical fallacies, because the informal ones are the ones that you hear about all the time, like, oh, that's an appeal to authority, that's an argument from popularity, that's those things. So, like, an appeal to authority, that is an informal fallacy, but that's because using an appeal to authority does not automatically make whatever argument you're making fallacious. So, for instance, I use arguments from authority all the damn time in my videos because I ain't no biologist, but I'm talking about evolution. Who am I going to appeal to? The people who know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to evolution. That is
also that there's a certain form that a fallacious argument takes in general, where you say this is when you say this is true because the biologist said it.
Pega J is pointing out literally the fallacy, where you say, oh, that was fallacious, therefore it's wrong.
Yeah, something is not wrong because it's fallacious. A fallacy just means that you, even if you get the correct answer, you use the wrong method to get to it. It's like when you're doing a math problem and you get the same answer as the rest of the class.
That's not even always the case, because like I said with the argument from authority, in something that requires expertise, that is the correct method. If I'm not an expert, then going to an authority, an expert in the subject, is actually the appropriate course of action.
I've always understood the argument from authority to be that it's fallacious when you say something is right because the authority said it, when the authority saying it has no bearing on its trustworthiness.
Yeah, that's the most obvious form of it. But like technically, anytime you appeal to an authority, that is an argument from authority.
Okay, fair enough.
It's just that sometimes it's a perfectly valid argument. But yeah, so like, yeah, while there is value in pointing out fallacies, it's also helpful to understand that fallacies are not always inherently problematic.
They're not the be all end all.
Yeah. And it's much more fascinating to, like, instead of just being like, that's a fallacy, let's move on. It's much more fascinating to actually like, okay, well, let's assume that your argument is correct and see what the implications would be. See where that leads us.
Let's go down the road.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens when we go down the road.
Mark Fernkoff says, Rhino, you can just say Forrest Valkai. I don't know specifically what that's with reference to, but Forrest is awesome. So yeah.
When you're talking about a biologist, you're just referring to the smarter biologist.
Oh. Yeah, no, I don't usually reference Forrest stuff. There have actually been, this might just come from, like, he's a much better science communicator than I am. But there have been, like, he's responded to some of the same videos that I have. And when I've watched his responses from doing the research that I needed to do in order to respond, there have been things that he said that they're not like wrong, but it's just like, people could get the wrong impression from the way you're saying that, but it's always on stuff that's like, it doesn't even matter if they do. Mm-hmm. So he's just better at being concise than I am. So like, I'm always, and okay, this might speak to my partner thinking that I do have autism, is that I have to be technically correct. If I say something jokingly that is even partially correct, I have to like go back after the joke and be like, I was just joking about this. I am aware that this is, and this is why my videos are getting longer, is because like, as I am learning more, I have to like, okay, well, I have to say this correctly, but in order to say that correctly, I have to first explain this, and this is going to be somebody's first video. So even though I've explained it before, I still have to explain it again, at least partially, or at least reference the video where I explained it before. And so I go down these rabbit holes of detail chasing. And it's not necessarily the best way to make content, but it's working for me now.
Oh boy.
What?
That feels like a headache and a half to have to do that. And then I'm like, but I think I've done the same thing in my content where I've just, while I'm live, I have to go, hold on, no, this is this. This one actually has to be explained this way. So I'm sitting there going, that sounds like a headache. And then my brain goes, okay, but you've done that. It sounds like a headache, but you've done it.
Yeah. Okay. That was the last tweet.
Oh, of course. The last one was the red pill apologist. At least it's not Kevin Sorbo. There wasn't a K-Sorbs today.
No, I looked at K-Sorbs. He wasn't really tweeting anything terribly interesting. It was mostly just like links to articles this week.
Oh, okay. Well, that is both uplifting and depressing. It's like there's a comfort to having a K-Sorbs tweet there, but then it's dealing with K-Sorbs, so I don't actually feel comforted. I just feel inconvenienced by the words he says.
Yeah. Yeah. We have Jamanian says ADHD go burr on arguments. That's exactly it.
Yup.
Oh, and the hyperfocus. Well, first Jassa says, disappointed!
Can't be a Kevin Sorbo moment without that.
Well, no, like the hyperfocus, like that's why this happened. Like, I couldn't
the thing.
I couldn't just be like, yeah, who cares? You both killed a lot of people and move on. I had to be like, no, this is wrong because like Protestantism doesn't exist in the 1300s. And I had to go down this rabbit hole of like all these countries that he's calling Protestant were like at best half Protestant for most of this period. And that it actually pained me to stop at England because I'm like, well, what if like people think that I stopped at England because I am of UK descent, and it's like, okay, we've gotten to the important one now, so I can stop. And like I know that's like
nobody really will care.
I've already gone into more detail than was anywhere even near necessary. And like, yeah, I learned about the Habsburgs today. Like I had heard about the Habsburgs before, but like I read more in depth on them and how they were like fighting to keep Catholicism around in Hungary. And yeah,
it became the thing you were fixated on.
Yeah, but what I was getting to before I got distracted by that. Now, the evil's name of Doomnes. I'm sorry for that. Says my ADHD usually goes the other way. I always go, oh, this reminds me of, and getting in a completely unrelated topic. Yeah, that's exactly.
Are you Family Guy?
Yeah, no, it's so it's the hyperfocus where like I am on this topic and I will stay on this topic until I have completed the whole thing. But then on the like side note of that is that like I can be easily distracted. So like if somebody distracts me from my hyperfocus, I have now completely lost wherever the fuck I was. And it takes like task switching is something that people with ADHD have a really hard time with. So that's where like
that explains that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Venix Primal says the Habsburgs are a whole can of worms in itself. Yep. Trust me, it was hard to not talk about the Habsburgs in great detail with reference to that tweet. So I'm like, it's not even really relevant.
You know what that means though, Rhino? From one content creator to another, that means you can use that tweet as a springboard for an entire video talking about the Habsburgs.
I probably could.
I'm sure people would be incredibly interested in that.
No, they would not.
I assure you they would, because I am just hearing about it with almost zero info. Maybe that's just because I like your content.
Maybe,
but...
I don't know. Oh, speaking of, did you see, like, has anyone responded to my 10 things about Christianity that don't make sense video that you're aware of?
Not in the circles that I talked to.
Because it got a really weird view bump today.
Huh.
And I feel like, and there have been a lot more like Christians commenting that like, oh, well, he clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, the Christians, he doesn't know anything about the Christian God. I
think it's going to end up being like that Matt Walsh video that I did that people still comment on today, and it is always the people who are fans of Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
They've always got something to say about that video.
Oh, Fendick the Rabbit says you should make a Tangents channel for things that don't fit your normal content. What do you think this is?
This is the Tangents channel?
This is the Tangents channel. Like, tomorrow I will be streaming with my partner about, like, reading a Christian marriage book. Sometimes I game stream. Not very often. Last time I played that little game where you're an angel that goes to hell. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick that back up. It was a fun little game, but it's one of those, like, I feel like if I'm going to continue playing it, I have to do it on stream, but I don't feel like streaming, so I'm not going to do it.
Oh, I've had those.
And I have since started playing the game Islets. Have you played Islets?
I have not.
Oh, it's a fun little game. It's a little platformer game where you're this mouse guy, and it's got an adorable art style, and it's quite pretty, and yeah, it's fun.
Okay. Meanwhile, I have my Magic the Gathering channel, which I've been posting more to lately than anything else, because my brain's like, hey, you want to make content for this, so make a lot of content for this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I recommend islets. It was cheap too, if I recall. It was like $20. So it's not like some AAA $70 game.
Growlith, are you trying to tell me that it's time for you to go outside again? Okay, fine. I got you. I got you. Just give me a second. We'll be done in a second, Growlith.
Fennec saying info dump, info dump. See, I feel like if I did that video on the Habsburgs or whatever, it would be like a was it Veritasium that would do those things where it's like, you know, the title of the video is this, and then I'll like make random connections through the whole thing, and now we're talking about something completely unrelated, apparently, but you got there through the series of connections. I feel like that's what it would end up being, but I can't do it anywhere near as well as those guys.
Look, make the video and make the title just you.
No, that is a lot. That is a lot of fucking work that I don't have time to put into it right now.
Just you standing in front of the board with all of the connected red string. Will Rhino make a video equivalent of the Wikipedia challenge? What's the Wikipedia challenge? Growlith, come on. She stepped on my cord and pulled it out.
Lovely.
Dapper says, I don't think your deck piece triggers like you explained. If you're talking about Dahada's ploy, I know that Dahada's ploy exiles. That's why I pointed out that, like, to have it happen for a turn cycle, you do Dahada's ploy, then you exile it, then you do Faithful Mending, then you exile it.
So what is the Wikipedia challenge? Do you know what that is?
The Wikipedia challenge is when you have two incongruent ideas, and your goal is to start from one of the ideas and, using only the reference links in Wikipedia, get to the other idea.
Okay. I could see that being fun. I could also see that leading to NSFW content, because Wikipedia does have a lot of that on there.
Perfect. It's an edited video. You can censor it.
I feel like that would. Yeah, I feel like that would have to be live.
Perfect. I'm kidding. Just stream it on PornHub.
No, then I'd need to give them my ID.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because that was one of the things that they implemented after they got sued. Is that Rovelearn. Sorry.
Oh, Robbie.
Your name is Rovelearn. Just resubscribed for 2 months. Mm-hmm. Hi, thank you. Yeah, I don't remember what I was saying. Anyway,
I'm gonna let Growlith out.
I'm gonna end the stream. Oh, wait. What was that? Someone suggested a pretty awesome sign-off. Fuck, I don't remember what it was. It was basically like a fuck off, like I normally end the stream, but it was like fancy. Yeah, okay. No, I just heard it yelled from the other room. It's may God help you, because I sure can't.